So back over to Deborah. What would be your goals in this next year or two? I know you've got election cycles starting again.
Correct. And we will actually start for 2026 in December of this year, because we'll start filing candidates. And one of my concerns is, like they were saying, is we are a staff of 3 full-time in our office, but when it's election time, we had anywhere between 150 to 200 people come in to help staff the polling locations, the early voting sites. Those positions are hard to find because we do pay for those positions, but we are limited on what we can afford to pay. And, you know, especially in this election environment that we're in, we're under a lot of scrutiny and, you know, a lot of things are going around that's not very friendly. It's hard to get people to come in and volunteer, well, not volunteer, but hard to get people to come in and use their time with very little pay. So that's one of our big concerns, is trying to make it where people actually do see a benefit in coming, you know, take a time from their maybe 9-to-5 job to come in and work. And also, I think a lot of people don't realize we went to paper ballots throughout the state in 2020. Each ballot costs an average of 32 cents a ballot. And we are required to order at least 100% of your vote letters you have. So if you think of 42 or 46,000 registered voters, we have to have a ballot for each one of those people. So our ballots are a big expense for the county, and that's something that we have to have. Delivering voting equipment.
How does the state back fund any of that? That's all local dollars.
From the county. Moving voting equipment, that all costs, because we've got...
And those are county dollars too?
County dollars. We don't get any funding from the state.
But they mandate how you do your job.
Exactly. We have 17 polling places in the county, and we're required to have at least 6 people, or we need at least 6 people in that. And that's a bare minimum of people. Well, they have to get paid for working that day, and that's a 13, 14-hour day. So, and that comes off from county dollars as well. So there's a lot of expenses in the elections department that are non-negotiables. I mean, we have to have voting equipment delivered to our precincts. I mean, we have to have ballots available. We have to have people there to work the polling locations. So it's a struggle each budget year. And on top of that, we're trying to keep current with all the updated equipment that's coming out. You know, you want your election to be as secure and transparent as possible. And like anything else, they're constantly coming out with newer, you know, equipment or newer software, better upgrades. Well, that costs county money too. So you have to weigh out what can we get by with this year and maybe what can we save for the next budget year. So it's a struggle sometimes.
So James, goals?
In the state of North Carolina, local governments are mandated to manage solid waste and reuse to protect the residents' health and the environment. So our goal would be to continue that, along with offering the easiest and most services we can for the citizens of Rutherford County, meaning operate the landfill as we are, the 10 convenience centers, keep the closed landfills updated and mowed per state mandates, and add any services that we can, because right now we can take MSW, which is household trash, C&D, recyclables. We also recycle metal, tires. We offer antifreeze recycling, oil recycling, cooking oil recycling. So we have a lot of programs that we oversee, and a lot of them happen through the 10 convenience centers. But what our ultimate goal is to accommodate citizens and make the process of getting rid of these items as simple and easy as possible.
Well, let's talk about budget for a second. Are there any state grants, funds, dollars that come to your department, or federal, or is it all county dollars that funds your department?
Mostly we operate as an enterprise fund, which is meaning we generate our own fees and
Right.
all that. We do have some grant opportunities, like if you want to add a new service, the state might pay some for that, but you have to continue that service. We do get some state distributions on like white goods, some tire distributions, part of the $2 disposal tax distribution. We do get a little bit of that, but on the large scale of things, that's only a very, very small portion of our bucket.
Okay. And then, Danny, I mean, what are your concerns, goals? What's your goals for moving forward?
Okay. I guess goals and grants to kind of play off.
And who writes your grants?
Well, let me start with goals and mention that on the line of our priority being facilities, I think a big goal for me is continuous improvement, not only for myself and my staff, but also for the other departments and department heads when we're talking about facilities that they're utilizing. I feel like they are the on-site manager, if you will. I want you to take ownership in this facility, whether it be conservation. I mentioned utilities and the rising cost of utilities a moment ago, but we're trying to implement better conservation programs all the time. We're investing more in HVAC controls and recognizing that with controlling temperatures and how much time the units operate. Are you a business that's strictly 9 to 5 and we could have some downtime between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. for those units not to be running, but just continually looking for opportunities to reduce expenditures and not just kind of sit back expectantly that we've got these costs and taking them for granted, but trying to continuously improve to better manage those who control costs. As far as grants go, usually it's a team effort between writing of some of my staff, finance staff, the manager. We've been very, very fortunate that over the last few years, we've gotten some post-COVID ARPA dollars. Those ARPA dollars are finishing up a brand new animal control facility right here in the county, which is very, very much needed. And I'm proud to say with those ARPA dollars, there was no local match. That is 100% paid for with no local dollars.
And what about the Bilo remodel?
I've heard people asking about the former Bilo and that remodel, how it's going to house 4 new departments. And those are absolutely no local dollars. There was a grant provided from the legislative.
So the animal control was no local dollars and the Bilo was no local dollars.
That's correct. And we're also working on the detention center. We were able to benefit with $10 million legislative dollars to be able to try to improve that facility.
Okay.
That facility, parts of it is as many as 50 years old. Some of it's as young as 30-year-old. But we learned through a written report, it's obvious just to go see, but we actually got a written report in conjunction with our improvements, that a jail facility receives so much use and abuse and operating 24/7. Yeah, a 30-year-old facility is easily doubled and feels like a 60-year-old facility because of just how badly it's worn. So we have a lot of needs in our facilities and their age, and very thankful that not only do we get some funds to be able to renovate the jail, which that design is underway right now. To do so, we're going to need to expand some of those operations to the front offices where staff and admin are. And we have been fortunate to receive the former 6th grade building from the RS Middle School campus. And we're going to be using legislative dollars to do some improvements there and turn former classrooms into an operation for the sheriff's office.
So those won't be local dollars, huh?
No local dollar.
Now, you got that. That's an incredible job.
Yeah. On a recreational side of the house, we are about to be opening 2 new paddle trails along the Broad River. One at Broad River and 221, have about a 4-mile float and come out at 221A in the Duke Power community. And those also were with the recreational grants. Thanks to tourism, they were a big advocate and the author on writing those grants. And we hope to be opening those again very soon with no local dollars for these improvements.
I like that phrase.
I'll be all the dollars. Since we're identifying projects, we have some legislative funds because they gave us a mandate for a 4th courtroom. We're having to move tax to the old Bilo, register of deeds around to be able to accommodate a 4th courtroom. And we anticipate the legislative funds covering the bulk of that so far. We're concerned about the delays getting there and how construction costs continue to rise.
Yes.
But so far, I anticipate all of these projects with no.
And I know there's concerns with the courthouse.
Yes, it will celebrate 100 years old next year, 2026.
Yeah. I like the historic part of that.
Yes.
The maintenance issues.
The maintenance issues are challenging. It's in need of a roof right now. We've got a couple other things going on in there that we're just trying our best to make sure we keep it safe as our first priority. But yes, sir. Thank you for chance to share that.
Hell yeah. No, I don't think I led with this, but I appreciate you guys sitting down and explaining what you do for the county. When I was running for commissioner, I looked at the website and I saw the list of departments, and I'm like, well, who is that? And so one of the goals that we have today is to identify who that is and what is it that they do for people in the county. You know, served in that fight with Shane. I'd met Shane earlier because I'm just coming back in and trying to do projects in the county. So Shane, what are your goals for the inspections department?
Right now, everything has seemed to transitioned over to paperless permit and stuff like that. Well, that's a challenge, unfortunately, for Rutherford County. We have some homeowners, rarely ever contractors, but homeowners that state of North Carolina gives them the ability to do their own work for their own place as long as they can and feel comfortable doing so. Well, with that being said, they come in. We have some residents of Rutherford County that still have a flip phone, doesn't even have an email. The new systems with paperless, it's all done via the internet now, and so we have a computer set up there in the office. Well, that takes a lot of Ruth, our permit takes time because she basically has to
All good for then you're teaching people how to use a computer.
yeah, to the process of that. And so we're looking at changing some programs and things to make it, but still with some of the lingo that comes along with it, they still had to have an understanding of what they're doing. So that's a challenge, keeping the public informed of what needs to be permitted, what doesn't need to be permitted that may have needed to be permitted 5-10 years ago because of changes at the state level. So that's unique, and trying to stay on top of it.
And Brandon's goals?
I think the main goal is trying to increase our services. How do we go about convincing people of Rutherford County to apply for a conservation easement? How do you convince people to go through that process and help preserve farmland for future generations? And there are some grant programs out there for that through the state. And how do you convince them to voluntarily sign up for those programs?
So what are the benefits? Expound on that.
Those benefits of a conservation easement. You do get a tax break or tax benefit from it. You do receive some cash for, not nearly the cash that a developer would give you, but some cash to own it. But for the greater good in the community, some of the benefits of a conservation easement is preserving that farmland for future generations. So as more and more people move in and everybody wants 5 acres here or 5 acres there, a lot of these large tracts of land that are historically farming are getting broken down into smaller tracts. Just a small farm requires a minimum of 100 acres to produce hay or feed or grain or for livestock. So if you're breaking those tracts down year after year, generation after generation, you're ending up with 20 acres here, 20 acres there. It makes it very difficult to farm one continuous large tract of land to grow clear fiber for our citizens. And so that's the main benefit for the county itself, to help preserve those large tracts from a lot of people that were moving in and breaking it down. If one farmer passes away, then he may have 3 or 4 kids where they're breaking a 100-acre tract down into 3 or 4 different tracts now, and you're looking at 20 acres instead of 100.
Yeah.
So that's where our goals are to continue to work with the farmers to, and just landowners in general. It doesn't have to be a farmer; you can just be a landowner to help preserve those tracts and those large acres for future generations.
And they can reach you through the county website if somebody's watching this video and they want to learn more about that.
Exactly. If you want to come to us, we're at SOIL&WATER. We're over on West Street in Spindale. Come by the office. We're at the we're part of the USDA, so we're in the USDA building there. They can reach out to any of our partners to help look at those conservation easements, and we can lead you down the road to do that.
And I just realized, Danny, I skipped over. I had a trend going, and my mind went somewhere else while you were talking because I was interested in what you were saying. But state, federal, local dollars, how is your budget derived?
A again, depending upon which project, because we named several of them that are strategically funded through local dollars. For example, we mentioned the courts coming from legislative. We also have ARPA. So anytime we've got those, we make sure we earmark those, and we do not have any local dollars unless there's some Haulk requirement for a match. But the ones you and I named a moment ago have no local match. Typically, whenever you're looking at planning and construction oversight, the admin piece is not included. So for that, staffing is local dollars to be able to.
So your staffing is local dollars. Your projects you try not to be.
That's right. And even on the maintenance piece, the 40 facilities that we talked about, we're doing that with approximately 8 maintenance men that's taking care of business. They're becoming multi-craft technicians. And there's really a push and an emphasis on complementing the blue-collar worker, not necessarily just white collar education. And boy, oh boy, they are carrying us on their backs and doing a great job of it. So as far as compensation, things like that, express wages, it's always good to take a look and figure out how we can better compensate them more competitively with our neighbors. Same with our mechanics. The county has about 400 vehicles approximately, give or take, and that's ambulance.
And how many mechanics do you have?
I have 1 garage supervisor who is second to none, 3 outstanding mechanics that's second to none, and they carry 400 vehicles. And we do everything but tires and auto body. We don't do body work from accidents and things like that.
But you don't have any accidents. There's no accidents on county vehicles.
So yes, I appreciate that. Great question.
Not only do they carry vehicles, they carry spreaders and no-till drills and stuff that praise that we offer servicing through and out. They maintain those equipment as well.
Shane, on your dollars, on your budget, the state, local, federal, is everything local or is it
Everything
split?
comes from permit fees is where it's,
Okay.
I'd probably say 85 to 90% of our budget is offset by permit fees input.
And then
And that's set by us and voted through the county commission. And every year I reevaluate the surrounding county, not Charlotte, but Shelby, Polk County, McDowell, any
touching counties, what I call the counties that touch.
That's right. And see that if they went up on theirs, we might adjust theirs accordingly to offset some of the cost of the department. Yes.
And Brendan, on your funding?
Our funding is we do receive approximately half my salary from state, and that goes with the soil and water. So we administer some state funds for, cattle exclusion and those type of things. All that money comes from the state. But as far as working with the watershed lakes and watershed structures, that all is local. It's just things that I do with that, but it's all funded through soil and water, or at least half of it is. And so we do receive probably a quarter to a third of our budget comes from state.